A mother read her daughter's diary. Is it protective or invasive? She only meant to keep her child safe, but one quiet night, she crossed a line that can't be uncrossed. When trust and fear collide inside the same house, who's really wrong? So why does this feels right? From a parent's perspective, fear can be louder than principle. Parenting doesn't come with a pause button, and when a mother senses that something is off, instinct often takes over before logic does. Maybe her daughter had been withdrawing, skipping meals, locking her door more often, or showing signs of anxiety that felt new and alarming. Maybe there were subtle changes, a sudden drop in grades, unfamiliar friends, cryptic messages on her phone, or a heaviness in the room that felt impossible to ignore. In moments like these, a diary can feel less like a private journal and more like a potential lifeline. To a worried parent, it can represent insight into dangers their child may be too scared to speak about: bullying, self-harm, online predators, secret relationships with older partners, substance use. These are not abstract fears. They are real situations many families have faced, often with devastating consequences when ignored. A mother might tell herself she isn't being nosy. She's being responsible. She might believe that temporary discomfort is a fair price to pay if it prevents something far worse. After all, children and teenagers don't always make safe decisions, and adults are legally and morally responsible for protecting them. From this angle, reading the diary isn't about control. It's about prevention, about staying one step ahead of danger when the stakes are too high to risk being wrong. There's also the emotional reality. Parents carry a weight that children don't see. They remember news stories, tragedies in their communities, and moments when someone said, "We had no idea anything was wrong." A diary becomes the one place where the truth might live. And when fear whispers that your child could be hurting, silence can feel like neglect. And why does this feel wrong? Because privacy isn't just a luxury, it's a foundation for trust. A diary is often the only place where someone, especially a young person, feels completely safe to be honest. It's where messy thoughts go, where confusion, anger, insecurity, and vulnerability live without judgment. When that space is invaded, it can feel like emotional trespassing. From the daughter's perspective, the betrayal can cut deep. Even if her mother's intentions were loving, the action itself sends a painful message. Your inner world is not yours. That kind of violation can damage trust in ways that are hard to repair. Once a child feels watched even in their most private moments, they may stop opening up altogether. Not just in writing, but in real conversations too. There's also a bigger issue: autonomy. Growing up requires room to think freely, to explore identity, to make sense of emotions without supervision. When that space is taken away, it can stunt emotional development. Instead of learning how to process thoughts independently, the child may learn to hide better, to lock down emotionally, or to build walls that extend far beyond childhood. And then there's the slippery slope. If reading a diary is justified once, what about again? What about checking messages, tracking locations, reading private emails? At what point does protection become control? Even when motivated by love, crossing boundaries can slowly reshape the relationship into one based on surveillance instead of connection. This is where things get complicated, because real life doesn't live in extremes. Not every situation looks the same. A parent who reads a diary out of casual curiosity is different from one who does so because they genuinely fear their child might be in danger. Context matters, age matters, history matters. A 10-year-old navigating big emotions is not the same as a 17-year-old building independence. A child who has previously engaged in risky behavior might require closer supervision than one who hasn't. There are moments when intervention can be life-saving and moments when it can be deeply harmful. The same action can be both protective and invasive, depending on why it happened and what happens afterward. There's also what comes next. A parent who reads a diary and uses the information to start a gentle, honest conversation is very different from one who confronts their child aggressively or uses the knowledge as leverage. Transparency can change everything. Imagine a mother saying, "I was scared and I crossed a boundary. I read your diary and I'm sorry, but I want you to know you're not alone." That doesn't erase the violation, but it opens a door for repair. This dilemma lives in the tension between safety and trust, love and control, responsibility and respect. It forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. Good intentions don't always lead to good outcomes, and sometimes two people can be hurt at the same time, even when both are acting out of love. Here's the big question. When does protection cross the line into invasion? And is there ever a moment where breaking trust is justified if it might save someone you love? This isn't a story with a clean answer. It's a reflection of how complicated relationships can be, especially between parents and children. A mother's fear is real. A daughter's need for privacy is real. Both deserve to be understood. Maybe the takeaway isn't about choosing sides, but about recognizing how fragile trust is and how powerful honest communication can be. Because in many cases, the healthiest solution isn't found in secret actions, but in building a relationship where hard truths feel safe to share out loud. If this story made you pause, think, or even disagree, that's the point. Share your perspective in the comments. Your experiences and opinions add depth to the conversation. And if you find value in stories like this, consider liking, following, and subscribing. It helps us keep creating thoughtful discussions that explore the gray areas of real life.